Train the muscles, not the joints.
Welcome back to Natural Gland Bodybuilding. Mountain. And here's a question for you. What's more important, diet or your training when it comes down to your natural bodybuilding growth? Now, this is a complicated question and answer, I guess. I mean, I guess the answer would be complicated seeing as the question is complicated. But what I want to do is just share my own experience in this. Now, when I was a teenager and I started training, I noticed that I could eat a lot of crap. And because I was a newbie at the whole training thing, I got a certain level of results. So what I'm trying to say is that my diet was important to make sure I have food, right? That I'm not starving, but I didn't have to micromanage it so much in order to make sure I got gains, because newbie gains are a lot easier to achieve. So really what I'm saying is that depending on the stage of the game that you are in with your training or fat loss, what happens is that your diet starts to become more and more important as you become more and more elite. You get to the top 5% of gains or the top 5% of fat loss. I guarantee you your diet matters a lot more to get from 6% body fat down to 5% body fat than it does to get from 20% body fat down to 19. You see what I'm saying? So I've also noticed a sliding scale, meaning that the more advanced I got in my training, the more the diet mattered. Like the nutrition's here and workout is here. When I first started training mattered more than my overall diet. But as I wanted to achieve higher and higher levels of results, right, this nutrition here had to get better and better in order for me to get more results. And the training didn't matter as much. So it became like more like a 60-40 split for nutrition. So nutrition became more important. And I'm noticing that to this day because, as we know, if you're deficient in anything, the body shuts down its recovery. Magnesium is one of those things. Like I take a magnesium supplement called Trace Magnesium Supplement. But the bottom line is that there are certain minerals that assist with proper recovery. I'll tell you a story about this one man I saw at the coffee shop one time. He was complaining that he was rolling around at night. He could not sleep. He was having back pain. And he was disabled from a car accident a long time ago. And I started talking to him and I said, listen, have you ever checked your minerals? Have you ever checked your magnesium? Have you ever, experimented with taking some magnesium? And he said, no. And I said, hey, listen, I've got some liquid magnesium at home and a bunch of trace minerals as well, all combined. I said, I'll bring some for you. So I raced back home. I went back to the coffee shop and I dropped a dropper full of this liquid magnesium into his water. He drank that. And then the next day when I saw him, he said, holy shit. He said, what the hell? I slept for the first time. I didn't have pain. What happened? So magnesium is one of those important minerals that allows your body to relax the muscle where calcium helps contract. And you have to have the proper balance of those things. And if you have enough magnesium, it also helps your body absorb calcium. So I'm getting to my point here with this. What also happened was he ended up buying some of this magnesium on his own and started using it regularly. And after a month, he came to me and he said, hey, does that stuff cure cancer too? And I'm like, what are you talking about? He goes, well, the doctor told me I have skin cancer on my nose, but as soon as I started taking that magnesium stuff, the skin cancer blemish thing went away. It's gone. He said it totally healed. And the reason for this is that, and I didn't know this at the time, is that magnesium plays a major role in tissue repair. And a lot of people underestimate that. They just think of protein and maybe some vitamin C or something like that, but magnesium is also a major constituent. So yeah, that was a neat sort of experience. So again, depending on what stage of the game you're at or what your body is dealing with will really influence what's more important, the training or the diet. But I'm going to say as you get more advanced and as you get older, or even age out of adolescence, like even in your 20s, diet matters way more. Because I even noticed in my early 20s, once I started eating better, like once I started competing, my muscle mass went through the roof, comparatively speaking, to when I was not eating enough protein and I was eating too much junk. And at the same time, I knew that I couldn't drink alcohol because as soon as I did drink alcohol with my buddies one weekend or something like that, 5 or 6 days would go by and I couldn't get a proper pump in the gym. I would notice that the body would just start going down, because to maintain an elite physique is much different than to maintain, an average or sub-average physique. So if you want to become elite, you have to eat elite. It's not just the training. The training is what a lot of people do, maybe not properly, but they do it intensely enough to cause the body to adapt, but they don't eat enough of the right foods, and they eat a bunch of other garbage that pulls them down. So in my experience, diet becomes more important than training as you go along. If you look at any of the strongmen, they take their training very seriously, but if you ask them what they do, they eat a ton of food. They're constantly eating. It's almost like they become hooked into the kitchen, right? And it's the same thing with all the elite bodybuilders. Now, I'm not saying you have to be chained to the refrigerator, but don't underestimate how important getting enough protein in your diet is, and also watching what you're doing with your fats and your carbs. It'll probably give you a lot more gains and a lot more well-being than you think. Mountain. So I hope this helped you in your training. Thanks a lot for watching. If you need to get a hold of me, just go to naturalgalantbodybuilding.com. And thanks to the big supporters, and take care for now. Oh yeah!